K-pop community can often feel huge and kinda complicated, especially to those new fans who have no prior knowledge of anything pertaining to it. And many get lost, and some words used within fandoms usually don't make sense. So I've decided to make a video that summarizes some of the most used K-pop slang and words among K-pop fans, and explain what each and every single one of them mean and how you can use them. Before we get started, I just wanted to clarify that some of these words could be Korean, or what we call Konglish, a mix between Korean and English. It could also be an English word that makes no sense without context, so we'll be covering all of that. Don't forget to like and subscribe and spread this around to all the baby K-pop fans who have joined into the madness recently. It is one of the most basic terms used by K-pop fans and their idols. Usually it is used by a female to another male who is older than her, but it could also be used among siblings. It could mean older brother, older male friend, or even in a flirtatious way. It is usually used with someone you are close to. You wouldn't call a Korean male you don't know that. The Korean language uses both formal and informal, and when speaking with someone in front of you, you must be respectful and mindful of their age. It is quite the opposite term of oppa, and it is what a male calls a female who is older than him. It could be used among siblings, or when you're flirting with someone or dating someone who is older than you. This term is used among females. It is what a female calls another one who is older than her. This means a younger sibling. It is usually used among people who have a close relationship, but is also used when a fellow K-pop idol might call another one in their group who is younger than them a donseng. It is what a male would call another male who is older than him. For example, EXO Sehun would call EXO Suho his young. Why? Because he is older than him. It is also what is used in informal language. It is another Korean word. It means the youngest. You often see this term used in K-pop profiles or among K-pop groups. The manne of the group is usually the youngest member among them. It is what the fellow K-pop group members would call their youngest. It is also a position. And speaking of positions, when companies are about to debut a K-pop group, they usually introduce them to the public, one after the other, and along with that, also release some basic information to every new fan. A position is what an idol member in his or her group has for a role. When I say Twice's Jihyo is the leader, it means it is one of her positions in that group. And since she's also an excellent vocalist, she also has another position, and that is the main vocalist of her group. The positions are usually used to highlight what each member does best, and their tasks. It could also possibly change depending on how the group progresses in the future. K-pop fans take cheering for their idols very seriously, and to do that, many K-pop groups have their own light sticks that fans can purchase. It could be a collectible, but also used when you go to a concert. It emits light and you can use it to cheer on your favorite idol group. They also come in different shapes, sizes, and colors, and their colors sometimes depend on the fandom color. Fans would compete among each other to show a representation of a certain light stick in an event that has many idol groups performing. To many new K-pop fans, the term music show might sound like a weird idea, but it's also a genius idea. They're broadcasted weekly. Each one of the largest Korean broadcasting stations have their own music shows, and at the end of each show, one idol group would take home a trophy. SBS has Inkigayo, KBS has Music Bank, MBC has Show Music Core, Mnet has M Countdown, MBCM has Show Champion, and SBS MTV has The Show. It is usually a big deal to win an award on that show. International fans can also vote, because each one of these have their own voting systems, but it differs. There are many tutorials to vote for your favorite idol group online. When someone says OT5, OT7, or OT6, it is basically a reference to whether you stan all the group members or not. For example, Blackpink has 4 members. A normal fan would say I am an OT4 stan, which means they support all the members wholeheartedly. There are also solo stans or stans that only like a couple of members. They're usually a minority in each fandom. Each K-pop group needs a loyal fanbase to help it grow, and in South Korea, a master neem or a fan site master helps with that. These people are regular people like you and me. They follow idols around or show up at their scheduled events to take photos of them and post them online. They help promote the group and the individual members as well. There is a bit of controversy regarding fan site masters because sometimes some of them invade idols' privacy, but that's not the standard, but it does happen. K-pop fans would call them master neem to show respect. They're either called Sasaeng or Sasaeng fans, but if you ask most K-pop fans, they refuse to call them Sasaeng fans. Sasaeng is usually a so-called fan of the group, who often obsesses about the group. They stalk them, they follow them around and invade their privacy. These Sasaengs have no private life and choose to instead pay money to dig information up about their idols and what they're up to, such as finding out their flight information and following them around and taking pictures even when the idols aren't on a public schedule. There are many famous cases where Sasaeng behavior has gone too far and caused idols harm. The idea was supposedly started by fansite masters who would take photos of certain members of a group. Let us say fansite master A is a huge fan of XID Hani. That fansite master would likely devote their entire gallery to Hani, since each fansite master chooses one member to focus on. That's usually the case. They attend events where idols perform, whether it be a music show or an event on campus, and the list goes on. They take vertical videos that follow Hani, for example, as she dances to a group song. This is called a solo fan cam, and they usually rack up millions of views and can even go viral and help a group tremendously. An example of that would be XID. Music shows also started picking up on that trend and have started filming idols' solo fan cams and uploading them to their YouTube channels. They generate millions of views. When I say my bias in BTS is RM, it means that he is my favorite member in that group. Of course, it does not mean I dislike any other member of whatever group, but that person is the member I care for the most and the one that attracted my attention. A bias wrecker is another idol in that same group you like, that basically came into your heart and stole it. He or she is the wrecker because he or she messes with what you believe your bias is. For example, I'd say my bias wrecker in BTS is V. Selka is a term used by Koreans to describe taking a selfie. It is what Koreans call social media platforms such as Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and many other social media platforms. In news article, you might see that some outlets describe an idol Instagram post as his or her SNS post. Aegyo is a Korean word that refers to a cute display of affection, often expressed through a cute voice, facial expressions, or gestures. For example, many idols would be asked to do aegyo on a show, and some members of certain idol groups are experts at that. Well, it might sound odd to those who are not part of any K-pop fandom. Usually, the K-pop agency would release their artists' public schedules, especially as they prepare for a comeback or if they're promoting a comeback. They'd release a calendar that shows what each member has for an activity, plus group activities. You'd also find many online fan accounts do this without being asked. They do this to bring fans' attention to their idol group activities so they could show support. You might have seen this online somewhere, especially on BTS-related content. This is what is made by the BTS member V. It combines the words Bora, which means violet, and Saranghae, which means I love you. Borahae means that he will love us until the end, since violet is the last color of the rainbow. So it basically means I love you. This is what fans and the company would call a subgroup within a group. For example, Red Velvet is a K-pop group. Recently, Irene and Seulgi debuted in what's called a subunit. They're part of their group, but they also debuted again as a duo in a subunit. Any idol in any group can be a part of more than one subunit, and a K-pop group could also have many subunits. This is what K-pop fans who stan and like many artists would call themselves. It means that they like many idol groups and support each one of them. This is why fandom culture in South Korea is so unique. You might have heard it before. A fan chant is basically what fans would sing along to an idol group song. Sometimes these fan chants are made by fans themselves, and other times the companies publicly release the fan chants and teach them to fans. Sometimes the idol group itself would sing along to the fan chant in a separate video to teach fans how to do it. They are usually used by fans when they attend a music show performance. It is used to encourage the idols and show unity. Fans also sing to those at their favorite K-pop idol group concerts. This term became popular recently as idol groups began becoming innovative with how they do it. Remember when we said idols promote on music shows? Well, at the end of their performance, an idol member might make a different or unique gesture towards the camera. Sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's cute, and sometimes it's very unique. This is called an ending fairy. An example of that would be 80s Jungkook using his bare hands to split an apple in half after ending their group performance. This is what you use to refer to the name of the fandom of an idol group. For example, BTS's fandom name is ARMY, Winner's fandom name is Inner Circle, and so on. Usually, groups would get their fandom names either right after their debut or a couple of months later. It is considered one of the most essential things every K-pop group needs because it is what they use to call their fans. They also usually have a meaning behind them. When you see K-pop fans discussing online, you might have come across it. It basically means the biggest agencies of K-pop idol groups in South Korea. The big three are SM, JYP, and YG. They're the agencies that paved the way for the idol industry and are responsible for debuting some of the biggest and most successful idol groups ever. Since Big Hit, aka Hype, has become so big, some fans extended that term to include them as well. So they added the Big Four. V-Live is a fan community, something similar to YouTube or Twitch. Each idol group has their own channel and they post exclusive content on theirs. They usually live stream it and fans can send hearts and comment. There are many other platforms with similar functions, for example Weverse, but each fan community runs differently and provides different perks to fans. It is considered a more intimate way to interact with your idol. So this is likely one of the longest videos I've ever made on this channel. And yes, I know, this is not all the terms that a K-pop fan who is new to the fandoms would need to know, but these are some of the most requested ones that I could find. If you'd like me to make a part 2 of this video, let me know in the comment section below, and I'll see you next time.